is this really the end tonight?
So tonight is not the official end. We're predicted to get a frost, but reality is we need to get a very hard freeze in order to kill all the mosquitoes. So some of the mosquitoes will definitely die tonight, but the risk is not going to be over just quite yet. So as the temperatures go down each and every day, what it does is it causes the mosquitoes to go into hibernation. And depending on the type of mosquito, remembering we have 53 different kinds, depends on exactly what kind of hibernation they're going to go into. But we're certainly seeing less mosquito activity with each and every cold evening.
What type of extended weather are we going to need to see?
We're going to need to see either 3 days worth of below 32 degrees for a minimum of 3 hours, or something that's really significantly cold. So, well under 32 degrees, maybe, in the 20s for a period of time, and that will shock the mosquitoes enough that they will either die or not emerge anymore from the water.
So after tonight, even though we're going to dip down into maybe a frost, what should people be aware of? It seems like the population of mosquitoes is going down. Is that accurate?
Yes, certainly the population of mosquitoes is going down. We're collecting less mosquitoes each day that we're trapping, and we're also seeing slightly less activity for Triple E and West Nile virus, but people still need to take precautions. They should still be wearing long sleeves, long pants, use EPA approved repellents, and try to avoid activities if they can between dusk and dawn.
When do you think that this actual hard frost will come?
So based on some of the information that we have from NOAA, we're seeing that for most of the region, we're going to see a hard frost come early November or into November. But each of these days, certainly that gets down into the 30s, helps reduce the mosquito population.
Can you just talk a little bit about how this season has been in terms of, testing for Triple E? It just seems like a really unusually bad season.
The season has been very unusual. We had activity starting in mid-July, early to mid-July, which is sort of early for Triple E, but then it ramped up very quickly. And we started seeing it in species that bite not only birds, but humans. And that's when we get that activity that can spill over into the human population. Populations were very high this year, all season long. We were collecting a lot of mosquitoes for a month at a time, and we were seeing highs that were above the 10 as well as 5-year averages for the mosquito populations that we were seeing, not to mention the amount of Triple E that we found. And as we know, it was active in many areas, not just Massachusetts, but Rhode Island, Connecticut's having activity, Michigan. It has been spread out throughout the country.
Wow. And the cause for all of this?
That's a good question, and I don't have a good answer. Certainly the change in the amount of rainfall we've had over the last few years. We had been in a drought in the state of Massachusetts, and that does reduce the mosquito that's important for starting the amplification cycle for Triple E. So that bounced back once we got out of the drought. There was activity down south, which is where Triple E usually originates and flies north in the summer through the bird population. They had activity early this year, and I think it was just a good combination of the amount of rain that we had in the fall and winter of last year, and then certainly the spring of 2019.
Any sense of how next year will look? I know the weather patterns sort of dictate what will happen next summer. Any ideas yet?
Well, we're certainly going to be looking at the larval populations and seeing the amount of water that's in the swamps. Right now, we're actually in a slight drought for areas of Bristol County, Massachusetts, so we're going to keep an eye on that. The birds that were naive or not exposed to the virus previously most of them have been exposed to the virus because of the activity. So there could be a slight decrease in the amount of Triple E next year, but we certainly don't know yet. And because of the activity that happens in Massachusetts, usually it's a 3-year cycle of high activity. So we're planning to have another very active year.
In terms of spraying, where do things stand? I think there was some spraying just recently, right?
Right, so we have officially stopped spraying for the majority of the area. We've had a couple of requests from individual towns within our district that has asked for spraying for special events, so we've been able to accomplish that on a very limited basis, but now weather is just not predicting that applications will be able to be made, especially since applications can only be made after sunset and before sunrise.
And so widespread spraying is not going to be something that happens anymore.
Correct. There is no more widespread spraying.
So message to people at this time, still not over?
Still not over. Sorry. Right. We're still going to have to take precautions for a little bit longer. Long sleeves, long pants, wear repellent. If you can avoid being outdoors, try to be. But we understand that this is the time when everybody is taking care of things around their house and enjoying the nice cool weather in the evening. So just take some precautions to protect yourself.